Welcome to week 1 of your Win from Within weight loss program. I'm so excited to see you here and thank you for joining me. Friends, we are going to get off to a wonderful start and I cannot wait to get started. I'm going to share my screen with you for a moment because I really love using the slides and this PowerPoint structure in order to provide some visuals as we go through the concepts. I feel it creates for a more engaging teaching opportunity. So one moment while I pull my screen up with this tool and share this with you. Okay, you should have received your program guide by now. I hope that you've taken some time to acquaint yourself with the program guide. I hope that you have read those introductory pages and the week 1 segment. If you've not read that segment yet, please make it a point to do so. Spend a few minutes in that material. That's where you're going to get the deep dive on all of the tools that I'm presenting within this video segment. Likewise, you have a Google form that's sitting in your email account. And when you are ready, I need you to complete the short questions on that Google form, submit it, and make sure that you do that in advance of our coaching appointment. Okay, friends, let's jump in. Now, the number one reason why people are overweight is because they overeat. All right? The reason we carry excess weight on our body is because we overeat and we don't know how to manage our desires. People are eating the wrong types of foods, they're eating too much foods, and they're eating too often. As a result, we are becoming addicted to the concentrated levels of sugar and flour that exist in so many of our food products. This creates a hormone imbalance, which then naturally causes us to put on excess weight and stay in that place of maintaining excess weight. We weren't designed to operate this way, and we're so out of alignment with where we're supposed to be in our eating practices, with our food desires, and with our hormone regularity that naturally we just are overweight. So the beautiful thing about this program is that we are going to solve for those very problems piece by piece. Okay, in today's society, we are used to eating all the time. I want you to think about your activities that you do as a family, the activities that you do with your friends, or what you choose to do when you may be bored or have a quiet moment. We're eating around the clock. Breakfast followed by a snack, lunch followed by a snack, dinner followed by a snack. Our bodies are receiving too much food too often, and we never have a chance to tap into our fat reserves as a way of sustaining us and pushing us forward in accomplishing what we need to do for our day-to-day activities. In addition to eating too often, we're looking to food to solve our problems. We're looking to food to entertain us and to help reward and compensate for different areas of our lives where we may feel incomplete. We use food for entertainment. We use it as a way of entitlement, socializing. We bribe our children with food if they do well on a spelling test. We go to food when we're bored or when we're upset. So what we're going to be learning to do over the next 12 weeks is to really tune into our emotions and start solving for the things that aren't working within our lives from a healthy space, from an effective space where we're taking action and taking care of ourselves emotionally and learning how to retrain our thinking and step away from those habits that are putting us in a place of defeat and overweight. Now, the goal within our program is to reduce and eliminate overhunger and overdesire. We're going to increase our awareness of what we're eating and why we're choosing to eat. We're going to learn how to tune into our hunger signals, and we're also going to be regulating our hormones. There's a lot of wonderful information out there about insulin resistance and insulin levels being out of alignment, and our program is going to help shift those things back into a natural balance so that you can achieve your ideal weight. I'm not going to spend any time on that subject here in our first video today because there's so much good information to cover. Know that that information will be coming later in the program around week 5 and 6, and we'll be doing a deep dive into how our hormones work for us, how our hormones can work against us, and what we can be doing to be proactive in regulating those things. Now, the number one tool that we want to get acquainted with this week is known as the hunger scale. The hunger scale is a spectrum that ranges from -10 to +10, with 0 being that happy medium where we feel completely satiated and we're very content and very at peace with ourselves. Now, as you can imagine, when we start to feel a little bit hungry, we slip down into the negative side of that hunger scale. After our food has started to digest and some time has passed, naturally we start to feel hungry. And initially, it might just be a little twinge in our stomach or a little grumbling. That's going to push us into a -1 or maybe a -2. If we choose to respond, then we're going to eat and we may return to 0 or we may return into the positive side of that hunger scale and end up in a +1, 2, or 3. If we don't eat when we start to feel those hunger pains come our way, then we naturally are going to slide further into the negative side of that hunger scale, with -10 representing absolute starvation. Now, we never want to get to a -10 because obviously that is too extreme. Likewise, we don't ever want to come over to the side of the scale where we're sitting at a +10 because that's eating to the point of being overly full, completely stuffed, and binge eating. Think about how you feel on Thanksgiving Day. Oftentimes, people practice overeating around the holidays, and Thanksgiving is a perfect example of when we slide far beyond that +3, 4, and 5, and we've pushed ourselves so far onto the spectrum that we almost feel like we want to throw up. Now, ideally, what we want to do is stay between a -4 at the very furthest side of the negative hunger scale, and then a +4 for our fullness levels. I want you to pause and think for a moment about a new baby. Think about a toddler that you might know and be friendly with in your life. These babies and these toddlers are perfect examples to us of eating to that perfect level of just being content and perfectly full. When a kiddo is done eating, they push the food away. That nursing baby pushes away from his or her mom because he is completely satisfied. They naturally are in tune with their hunger signals. And as children get older and as they come into more of the socializing side of life and the traditional side of life where food becomes more of a pleasure and a source of entertainment and reward, that's when our hunger signals start to get out of alignment. But those young babies and those toddlers, they know exactly when they need food and they ask for it. And then they know exactly when they're done eating and they let us know. So we want to realign our eating just as a young toddler and a new baby would. We want to become very in tune with how we feel when we are hungry, and we need to use this scale as a gauge to help us navigate where we fall on the hunger side and the content and fullness side. Now, there's 4 different types of eating patterns that we engage with. The first one is called fuel eating. The second is a joy eat. Third, we have fog eating. And then finally, we have storm eating. Now, whether you know it or not, you've had experience in all of these categories. And I'm going to give you some quick examples to help demonstrate the 4 types of eating. Ideally, we want to always stay within category number 1, which is fuel eating. This means we're choosing high quality foods that have good nutrition. They're going to sustain our energy for a long time, and they fuel us in a really beautiful and abundant way. Fuel eating is when you choose to have a really beautiful full salad. It has proteins, it has vegetables, it has good fats in there, maybe a little bit of fruit, and you just feel so good after you've had this beautiful Cobb or Southwestern salad. Fuel eating is always the best choice when it comes to choosing our foods every single day. This is going to give us the right kind of energy that we need. It's going to help provide clarity of thought, and we're just going to feel and operate at our very, very best. Now, joy eating occurs when we indulge in something that's a little bit outside of fuel eating, and there may be a purpose or an occasion actually associated with our joy eat. So, for instance, let's say you're celebrating a birthday, and you know that there's going to be cake and ice cream after dinner to celebrate someone's birthday. This would be considered a joy eat. When you have a piece of cake and a scoop of ice cream after a nice dinner, then you're enjoying something that's a little bit outside of your food plan. There's some sugar and flour in there. There's some yummy treats that accompany the different food choices that are available, and it's more of a celebratory type of engagement with your food. The beautiful thing about the Joy Eat is that when it is planned and when you keep it within a structured framework, you can have a Joy Eat now and then and not have any net negative side effects come into place. Again, we're going to talk about learning how to practice a Joy Eat and enjoy having some desserts and some sweets and maybe some pastas as part of our food plan. But we want to be very thoughtful when it comes to joy eating, and we want to be sure that we're staying very focused and in tune with why we're eating what we're eating and the amount that we're choosing to eat. Now, if you've ever wandered over to your pantry and all of a sudden found yourself standing there with a bag of potato chips in your hands, and you're like, how did I get here? Why am I eating potato chips? Then you've experienced fog eating. Fog eating is when we are being very mindless and unaware of what we're eating and why we're eating. Additionally, we have no idea how much we've eaten as well, because we're so out of tune with ourselves. We're so out of tune as to how we came into that space of eating and why we're eating. It's just kind of an autopilot response. Fog eating often takes place when we aren't proactively planning how we want to engage with our food and when we want to engage with our food. And it can be a terrible practice because it naturally leads into overeating, which leads into being overweight. The final category, storm eating, is when we're eating because we're angry, we're frustrated, we're sad, we're feeling lonely. There's often a negative emotion that's connected to storm eating. And then it's almost as if we're eating against our own will in a way to punish ourselves and hurt ourselves. Oftentimes, there can be some deep-seated emotions that come along with storm eating, and we need to be very thoughtful about how we want to engage with this behavior if it is going on. Oftentimes, storm eating can be connected to an eating disorder, such as binge eating. So those are the 4 types of eating practices that we recognize and are aware of within our eating habits. We're going to be practicing an awareness of these 4 categories in this next week and learning how to recognize why we're eating, what category we're falling in, and then we're going to be journaling this as well, which I will highlight here in just a few moments. Okay, in your workbook, you will see that there is a page provided for you to Xerox. It is in the Week 1 segment, and it's also at the very end of the book in your resources segment. The food journal is meant to be used as a tool to collect information. This week, we're going to focus on simply being accountable. We want to be 100% honest with what we're doing and where our information falls. Simply by writing things down, that automatically turns on the lights a little bit brighter for us to see what's really going on and how we're engaging with our food practices. As you can see on the slide, we're going to mark our date. We're going to identify what type of a food category we're falling into. Are we choosing a fuel food, a joy eat? Are we eating because we are in a state of unawareness and in a fogginess, or a storm eat? I want you to also start tracking your water. Often enough, we're not getting enough water into our bodies day to day. It's really important that we know how much water we're consuming, and more often than not, we need to be bringing that number up higher than where we presently are. So by getting accountable and writing down how much water you're taking in, that's going to let you know whether you need to bring that number up or if you're sitting at an ideal spot for your water consumption. Additionally, we're going to be gauging our hunger scale. Prior to eating our food, we're going to rate whether we're sitting at a -1, 2, or 3. And then after we've completed our meal, we're also going to be rating how we are feeling following that eating experience. Are we sitting at a +2? Maybe we could have eaten a little bit more. Are we sitting at a +3 where we feel completely content? Or did you choose to go to a 4 and maybe you ate more than you should have and you're just a little bit stuffed? Finally, we're going to be accounting for everything we choose to eat this week. Every single food item that you put in your mouth needs to be written down on this paper. We won't be worrying about the quantities at all throughout this program, and that's one of the beautiful benefits of how the Win from Within weight loss program works. However, that being said, you are going to be accountable for everything that you choose to eat. So please keep this paper handy in your kitchen. If you're out and about and want to tuck a copy into your purse, just have it available Have it in a familiar spot where you'll see it often, and keep a pen handy so we can start being very, very accountable. Now, friends, I want to make a shift and start talking about our thought management tool that I'm going to introduce you to. This is called the Thought Download. And we have over 50,000 thoughts each and every day. That's a lot of information. That's a lot of internal dialogue going on. And more often than not, we're just simply operating on autopilot because we're so used to thinking the same things day in and day out. Now, our minds are our most powerful tool. And when we start to increase awareness of what we're thinking and why we're choosing to think the things that we're thinking, then we can be proactive in making changes. It's very important that we direct our thoughts and that we're thinking on purpose. And this is not a practice that many are familiar with. So know that here in week 1, we're going to start having lots of opportunities to practice being purposeful in our thinking, and also to just become aware of what's going on internally and how we're feeling and why we're feeling the way we're feeling. Now, when we start engaging with our thoughts, I want to use a quick analogy for you. I want you to think about driving to a familiar grocery store. When you go to this grocery store, you don't have to hardly think about it. It's a very unconscious act. You know how to get to that location, and it just happens very naturally. That's the same as when we're thinking the thoughts that we're always thinking. They're just there. They're part of who we are, and they just naturally come with us and are part of our daily engagement. When you choose to go to somewhere new and an unfamiliar place, it's as if you are taking a new, unfamiliar, untraveled road. I want you to imagine driving on a dirt road with me for a moment. The road is bumpy, it's unfamiliar, there may be some twists and turns that you don't anticipate, and you have to be very focused and engaged in traveling on that road in a purposeful way. So as we learn to create purposeful thoughts and be more aware of our thinking, it's just as if you were traveling on this dirt road. You're going to be very thoughtful, you're going to be attentive, it's going to be unfamiliar, and sometimes it might be a little bit uncomfortable. But know that with practice, it's going to get easier and easier, and pretty soon it will become more of a natural part of who you are. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to start engaging with a thought download practice. Now, when we do a thought download, what this really means is that we're simply putting our thoughts onto paper so that we can see what's going on. The beautiful thing about actually writing our thoughts onto paper is that then you no longer have to worry over your thoughts. You no longer have to babysit your thoughts, and you no longer spin in feelings of defeat and ineffectiveness and frustration. Putting your thoughts onto paper is actually a very freeing experience. It allows you to be an observer to your thoughts, and it also allows you to kind of take inventory on what thoughts are serving you well and what thoughts you are ready to part with. It's a good daily practice. Just like we brush our teeth every day and we comb our hair and put on fresh clothes, we want to give our minds the opportunity to have a moment to be cleaned up and decluttered and to decompress from some of those things that are causing us to feel stagnant in our lives. Now, here's something really fun I want to share with you, and you may not know this yet. Not all of our thoughts are true. Even though we're thinking something internally, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. And oftentimes we have thoughts that we've chosen to believe or we've been conditioned to believe that aren't serving us. And so throughout the upcoming weeks, we're going to learn how to differentiate between the thoughts that are purposeful and true and that serve us well, and the thoughts that are just kind of holding us back and feel like a heavy backpack that are keeping us weighted down. We will explore that further as we come into week 2, 3, and 4, and we'll do a deep dive into that concept so that it becomes easier and easier for you to understand. Right now, we just want to get very comfortable with doing the practice of sitting quietly for 5 to 10 minutes and putting our thoughts on paper. Okay, as you can see, I've outlined some step-by-step instructions in doing the daily thought download. Now, it is important that you allow yourself 5 to 10 minutes every single day to decompress and declutter those thoughts that are occupying space in your mind. I like to find a quiet space, and I like to sit by myself for just a few moments and allow my thoughts to come out just very naturally in a real free form kind of way. I don't attach any judgment to my thoughts. I don't try to correct my thoughts. And this is not a journal entry. This is going to be your opportunity for you to connect with yourself on a level that's authentic. No one else is going to be reading your thought download. So whether it's a positive or negative thought, just let it come forth and put it onto paper. It's totally fine if these are some unpleasant thoughts that you need to get out of your system. You're going to feel better once you choose to do this. As you're going through this experience and you're writing your thoughts down every single day, I want you to meet yourself with some compassion. I want you to meet yourself from a place of curiosity and really just let those thoughts unfold. Let that be a way of serving you and allowing you to step forward and engage in your day, being freed from some of those thoughts that may have been causing you sadness, loneliness, or frustration. Likewise, if you have things that are going on that are really happy and really bringing you a lot of joy and peace in your life, make it a point to write those things down too. Okay, friends, the final thing that we're going to touch on today is our why. It's very important that you start asking yourself why you're choosing to recommit to your weight loss journey. What is sitting behind this drive? What is sitting behind your engagement? Why is this important to you at this time in your life? I provided you a reading in the beginning of the workbook that spoke about a compelling reason. If you think for just a few minutes and if you ask yourself some of these important questions, you're going to quickly identify your why. We all have reasons as to why we choose to do or not do specific things in our lives. And our compelling reasons are very, very important, especially when it comes into practicing weight loss and becoming re-engaged and reacquainted with the weight loss tools that you're going to need to support you successfully through the next 12 weeks. We want to meet ourselves from a place of love, confidence, happiness, and being fully committed to this process. So when you identify your why and you're able to understand what's driving your commitment to this new practice and also to showing up for yourself day in and day out, even when it gets hard, then you're going to really feel committed and it's going to set you on fire. Throughout the next 12 weeks, we're going to not only change ourselves physically, but you're going to also start to experience a transformation with your emotional wellness. And also you're going to reestablish feelings of trust, confidence, and love within yourself. And you're just going to feel better about your whole life overall. Know that you're going to learn how to honor those commitments that you make with yourself. Even when you get off track and have a hard day, you're still going to feel a sense of commitment and honor, and you're going to get realigned. You're going to come right back into the program, and we're going to continue to move forward together. The real reason why I am so passionate about coaching people in this weight loss space is because it's an opportunity for you to remember that you matter. You are important. Your happiness is important. And when we feel good on the inside, we make good choices on the outside. And likewise, as we feel good on the outside and we're taking care of ourselves in a good way through our food choices and engaging in exercise and good sleep and good thought management practices, then you're going to feel better across the board. And your whole life is just going to fall into place and be in a better space and be far more fulfilling to you than maybe where it is presently. Friends, I'm so excited to get started. Thank you for joining me in our week 1 video. Please make it a point to get on my scheduling link, get your appointment secured for your week 1 appointment. You're welcome to book week by week, or if it's easier to set 3 and 4 appointments at a time so that they're firm on your calendar, that's an option as well. Again, know that I believe in you. I am completely committed to your success, and we will do this together one step at a time. Have a beautiful week, and I look forward to seeing you at your coaching appointment. Take care.